Hi, how's it going guys? So, with Shadow of War being a step closer to the release date of October the 10th and the story elements of the game still being fairly hidden, which is a good thing, since Monolith have been brilliant at showing off their gameplay without spoiling the main plot. So, in this video I would like to discuss the potential characters and little Easter eggs that we could potentially see in Shadow of War, since we know the game takes place between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and the only confirmed canon character that we know of so far is Gollum. Before we begin, if you haven't watched The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, be warned there will be spoilers in this video and you should seriously go watch them. Now, let's get into it. First of all, we know the Hobbit trilogy follows Gandalf, Bilbo, Thorin Oakenshield and his dwarven followers in the pursuit to reclaim the Lonely Mountain from Smaug the Great Dragon who claimed it his own. So, we know the dragon Smaug dies in the movie, and with this being the case, I think it would be cool if Monolith allows Talion to find Smaug's corpse that would allow us to craft some sort of legendary dragon armor, which would also serve as a brilliant Easter egg within the game. This armor could have amazing fire resistance and have high protection against projectile weapons such as arrows, which would totally make sense since dragon skin takes a special type of arrow to pierce its hide and it doesn't have to be overpowered but just look unique and cool for us to wear. Speaking of dwarves, we know that Thorin Oakenshield, the king under the mountain, also dies along with his nephews Fili and Kili in the Hobbit trilogy, but his dwarven party are still left alive to reclaim the mountain under the rule of Thorin's cousin Dain, who was also an incredible leader as well as warrior. So, my hope is when building our allies and armies in Middle-earth Shadow of War that we will be able to visit the Lonely Mountain to ask for aid from the dwarves. And it would make sense if Dain actually refused to help Talion, but I would love it if a few dwarves agreed to help us and join Talion on his conquest. Even more so if it were the dwarves who survived from Thorin's campaign, or even completely new dwarven characters, as I think it would be a great way to introduce dwarves into the game, and to be honest I just want to be able to visit the Lonely Mountain and see the dwarven architecture in all its glory. We never get to see enough of dwarves, and I think Tolkien's universe is one story that gets them right, so I would love to see them in Shadow of War since it does make sense to have them within the game. Plus, I'm pretty sure Gimli will be pissed if we have elves and not dwarves. Moving on, another character we could possibly meet is Legolas, the most incredibly skilled elf we will ever witness. Now, at the end of the Hobbit trilogy we know that Legolas' father tells him to travel north to find a ranger named Strider, who we know to be Aragorn, the rightful heir to Gondor. And with the game taking place between both trilogies, with this information it makes it entirely possible that we could bump into Legolas, even if it is a short part of the main story or some sort of reference or Easter egg. Since he is travelling north, he may cross paths with Celebrimbor and Talion, and a way this could happen is if Talion is being overrun by enemy Uruk, and out of nowhere, on our last chance, an arrow comes out of nowhere and shoots the orc about to kill us right between the eyes. Legolas then charges in and we fight side by side until every orc is slain, after which we then exchange words and maybe never see him again. I believe a random scripted scene like this would be absolutely great and make the world feel alive, since you'll never know what amazing thing could happen next. On the other hand, to add to this, with Aragorn being a ranger named Strider, and with the fact that we know Talion was also once a ranger, I would no doubt if they had some sort of mention of Strider, or even if Talion mentioned to Legolas to have known him and fought beside him after Legolas just helped Talion out and they shared information. I think this would be a great way to bring Legolas and Strider, well Aragorn both, into Shadow of War for a short moment. I mean, there are so many possibilities on how they could throw mentions to these characters and many more, whether it's in the form of big story roles, small remarks or cool Easter eggs, and even hearing about them from random conversations between orcs or have them pop up in unique side quests and random scripted events. Monolith seems to be going all out in Shadow of War, and I just hope there are familiar faces, names, whispers and weapons from the Lord of the Rings universe. Another cool thing we witness in The Hobbit are the massive stone giants that fight each other near the mountains. If these giants are included in Shadow of War somehow, it would be incredible, even as a main story element while traversing high rocky landscapes, or even if we get to recruit one as a legendary creature would blow my mind. It could be a great set piece boss battle as well, or even if we just happen to find one in the game in any shape or form, while Celebrimbor gives Talion a short story on them while watching them go at it from a distance. Moving on for a second, Shadow of War is looking to have a strong set of female characters. We've seen the mysterious lady with the black hair who has the ability to wield the new ring of power, Eltriel who is the blade of Gladriel and the destroyer of Nazgul, Karnan the forest spirit who has the ability to transform into various mythical creatures, who is my personal favourite so far, and the female captain we see fighting alongside Talion. But with all this, it may leave room open for one more badass female character that isn't really canon, and as you guessed it, Taurel from The Hobbit. Now, we know she survived at the end of the movie, but having her pop up in the game may be too much since we already have all these other strong female characters within the game. I personally wouldn't mind though, but another way I would like Monolith to implement having her within the game would be to allow us to find her dual wielding daggers stuck in some high level Graug's back that we would have to defeat in order to get the Blades of Torel. If we have side missions like this for unique gear from specific characters within Tolkien's universe, it would be totally worth it and make the game a hell of a lot more better than it already is. Now, we also know in Tolkien's universe, whenever there's trouble, who comes to save the day? That's right, the Eagles. We've seen through gameplay videos that we can add additional forces to our army when preparing for battles such as drakes, Graug, spiders and so on. In Fortress Assault gameplay, we have seen there are 2 more locked army upgrades with 3 slots each of additional upgrades that we haven't seen yet. So, my hope is that one of these upgrades for our army in a Fortress Assault will be to call upon an eagle. And to make sure it wouldn't be too overpowered throughout the main story, it could be an endgame unlock that will allow us to call upon eagles after completing the main story. Then again, being able to ride one within the game only for a specific mission would be great too. Say if we had the opportunity to fight a Witch King with his Nazgul, having a unique one-off mission like this is what makes people remember a game after playing it. Missions that allow you to do and experience something you wouldn't otherwise be able to do within the open world, which in this case is flying on the back of a famous eagle and taking down a Witch King while he's on his Nazgul. So guys, these have been some of my potential characters, lore and easter eggs that are entirely possible that we may see in Middle-earth Shadow of War in some shape or form. There are many more that I hope to see within the open world and possibly the story within the game, but these were my example few. If you guys have any of your own, do let me know and everybody else in the comments below and let's talk about it. Other than that, I'm Played by Vix. I hope you enjoyed the video. I thank you for watching, subscribe for future Middle-earth Shadow of War content and I shall catch you guys in the next one.